Welcome back to the portfolio update videos. This is actually going to be a video wrapping up my 2023, going through both my stock market portfolios, how they did, my goals, if I hit them, and just the overall review. At the moment you can see my US portfolio sitting at 21,211 USD, but that doesn't include the $596 which I'm putting towards my new edition, my last edition of the year, Google, which I'll go through soon. And then my Vanguard portfolio is sitting at 2,861 AUD. Overall, it's been a very successful year for my stock portfolios. It's the most I've ever grown them since I've been doing it. So overall, I got a quick figure for both. And for my stake portfolio, I started the year at 15,923 AUD. And then I ended the year at what it is now, 21,000, which is a gain of 16,079 AUD. So up over 16k this year. A lot of that's got to do with the returns. Like I'll put in a quick video of my first video of last year, just for kind of comparison, and you could see everything was down. I mean, you go through my portfolio, some of my positions this year, you look at Apple was down 100, it was down to $125 a share, and now it's all the way in the 190s. You look at the S&P, for example, that's the perfect indicator, and start of the year, down 351. And I was buying at points like this, but now everything's in the green. So it was kind of a great year for me, great year for everyone who invested in the stock market. And I've just kind of been holding on. And I'll put a quick clip in. Welcome back to the 2023 first January portfolio update of the year. Currently, both my portfolios are sitting at a combined wealth of $18,850. This is down from last month, but I'll go through that with me taking some money out and selling out of some positions. Quickly looking at the portfolio, my US stake portfolio is sitting at 10,836 US dollars. So I believe would be somewhere in closer to like the 16 grand in Australian dollars. And then my Vanguard portfolio is sitting at 2,839, but I have that $70 in cash. So yeah, that takes it together to around close to $19,000. In regards with my Vanguard portfolio, at the start of the year was sitting at $2,910, and then now to end the year it's sitting at $20,861. So massive gain, $17,951 for my Vanguard portfolio, and most of that, unlike my stake position where it's more capital gains, this was more just deposits. But hopefully the gains will come in the future, as this has only been active for like a year. You can see VLC, my biggest position, sitting at around 12,000. VGS, which I've been adding to even more, is now over 8,000. And then I've got a small position in VHY. Overall, I've already gone through the goals for these portfolios and trying to get them to, obviously with this US portfolio, I wanted to get it to closer to 50,000 next year, which will mean obviously around $18,000 up, which is pretty close to what I did this year. I think it's doable, hopefully. And then my Vanguard portfolio, I want to get into 30,000. So basically just another 9,000 roughly, which is definitely doable, as my dividends will also get bigger. And I'll just hopefully be able to put more money in. Going through a bit of a wrap up, I did go through some of my best performing stocks and some of my worst as well. And just to quickly skim over that again, you can see by just the total change, Apple has clearly been one of my best. Same with Microsoft, and then surprisingly also Costco for some people. Costco is up there with the tech giants. My position's up 33%, so I'm more than happy with that. And when you look at some of these positions, I mean, I track these videos all the time just for accountability, and I've been buying in for ages and holding. Apple's one of my initial positions, and it's nice reaping the benefits of it. At the moment it's a bit expensive, so I'm not buying in right now, but yeah, you look through most of my portfolio, that's kind of the issue I'm with. It was such a good year that everything almost seems expensive. Like McDonald's was it was my most recent purchase in terms of building up a position, and I saw it was down a decent amount, and I thought I'd make the most of it. So as you can see, I saw a dip. I thought I was a little bit late buying it at 256, and then it is just ripped. Like it's up 15, nearly 16%. and I've only held it for this short time. So that was a really, really good buy for me. I wish I could have made the position bigger. Every time I speak about it, obviously I wish I could have bought more, but yeah, getting up 16% in just the last bit of the year was really, really good for my portfolio as well. And other positions, I guess kind of going through the main one that is the pending order at the moment for 600 USD is Google. So when you look at the S&P this year, the results were decent, but I think it was around 12% was the return if you take out the Magnificent Seven, so the big seven, like tech giants pretty much. And yeah, great year for the S&P, but it was heavily influenced, same with my portfolio, by the big tech giants. So Apple, Microsoft, Google, Nvidia, all those ones, Meta. And when I looked through my portfolio, out of all the tech positions, one of the giant ones that's actually got the lowest PE ratio is actually Google. Surprisingly, it's up over 58% this year, so it's had a great year. But if you go on the 3-year, it still hasn't broken those highs that it once was back in 2021. So obviously, if you were buying through 2022, which is what I tried to do, even started the year, you'd be extremely happy. But I needed to put my money in somewhere. And when I went through and I looked, it looked like Google was the one where I wanted to put it. If you followed long enough, I did actually sell out a decent chunk of my Google position. Same time when I sold out Meta, horrible decision, but that's life. And when going through it, yeah, I know people are a bit worried about the kind of the long-term outlook on Google with search, because obviously that's where they make a big chunk of their money, but the stats are showing that it's not actually affecting their market share that much. And obviously Google knows that they're full of smart people. They're not going to just let their market share go away. They're going to invest into AI. Same way people have looking at like ChatGPT and everything. Google will have their own, and currently do have their own versions. So I don't see them going anywhere. And when I went through, had a quick look through how everything looked, it looked like green all the way through. Again, something I want to hold a bit more long term. I did sell out at a horrible time. Same with my Meta position. Like when I go back and look at Meta, this was the stock I kicked myself for selling out of. It's up nearly 200% in the last year. And yeah, obviously I wish I was buying in here, but my share price was a bit higher. So meaning I would have at least made my money back. Like I lost a lot of money on Meta in terms of selling it. And yeah, if you were invested and you were smart and you bought in 2022, they've announced obviously the job cuts. They've announced cutting back on costs with like the metaverse and everything. You would be over the moon. And yeah, everyone seems to, if you were invested in Meta, you've had a big smile on your face this year. And me, someone who sold it, exact opposite. So you can't always win all the battles. But yeah, overall going through this year's results was really, really strong. Most dividends I've ever got, I'll go through that a bit later as well. Biggest gains I've ever had. And the portfolio might look small to some people, especially when you compare it to other portfolios when you look around. But it's nice to see it grow, especially as a 21-year-old. And it just being one of my portfolios. Obviously, I could have put all the money from my Vanguard portfolio into this, and it could have been a bigger amount and could have looked a bit better, but I wanted to diversify a little bit. And I do enjoy investing in US shares, especially for the capital gains. Like I've said it a bunch, where my US portfolio is a lot more gains orientated, and my Vanguard portfolio is a lot more just stability, dividends, and just kind of, if I'm going to draw money, I'll take it out of my Vanguard portfolio, where this is just a bit more playing around, making videos, everything like that. But yeah, going forward, I want to grow this hopefully into closer to 50k AUD. So it means I'll have to do a decent amount of deposits next year, but hopefully I can put the money aside. And yeah, I'm kind of looking where to put my money at the moment, because as you look, everything looks so far up. Everything's had such a strong year. One of my positions that I obviously invested in was Google, which has had my lowest return. So that's one of the reasons why I looked at it as well. But I'll make my decisions. I'll make more videos in the future, kind of going through where I want to put my money, if I want to sell some stuff. But at the moment, I'm just kind of sitting still. Going through my Vanguard position as well. It's also had a good, strong end to the year, especially when you look at the Australian stocks like VLC. It's traded up. I remember when this was around $73 a share. And with it being 12,000, it's one of my biggest positions. I think it's actually technically my second biggest position behind VOO. So trying to diversify a little bit. And pretty much all this does is it holds the like 20 biggest companies in Australia. So I'll show you. And in regards with returns, though, the returns this year haven't been very good. And I understand with the Australian share market, sometimes the returns aren't as lucrative as the US portfolio. So that's why I try to invest a decent chunk into my US portfolio. But it is nice having the diversification across different countries and different markets as well. So I'll keep investing into this, but I think I'm going to actually put a bigger focus on, if you've seen, is actually growing around my VGS position. So this is Vanguard's international shares ETF. I can't invest in VOO on my Australian Vanguard, which is a bit annoying because that's where I would be putting my money. But what this offers is pretty similar. Obviously, it's more than just the US though, but it offers me a bit of diversification away from Australian holdings. You can see it's still got the massive American holdings like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and they take up a decent chunk, but it also has a worldwide kind of outlook. Like, it's got companies from all around the world. It's got a massive amount of holdings there, nearly 1,500. So this is about as diversified as you can get. But going through my Vanguard portfolio, yeah, the goal is obviously to get it to 30,000. It means my dividends will be massive next year, hopefully. And yeah, just keep putting this. Maybe one day I'll use these funds towards a home or something like that. But at the moment, it's just nice to track it and put some money aside. This year, I also did put a bigger effort into obviously tracking my spending. I think that helps me a lot in terms of visualizing and kind of being able to see where my money is, how it's growing, the portfolio allocations and everything. I want to make this a bit prettier, but this was just a quick one I've done. Obviously, this doesn't include my recent buy or what I'm about to buy in Google. So this is just everything at the moment. But you can see my goal with the American portfolio was to keep VOO at 50%. And I made a bit of a change. I want to change. I don't want my VLC position to take up 60% anymore. I'm looking at probably making it 50% and growing my position in VGS, so I can have a bit more international coverage, because whilst I like the Australian stock market, when I kind of go through all my net worth and I put it around, I think it only takes up, like, my VLC position's only like 15% of like everything I own, so I'm not too worried. But yeah, it's nice to kind of track everything. And I'd spoken a little bit earlier, but the growth that I've seen this year has been massive. So you look at my balances, I tracked it here, and it's just been up. And I know it's been a hard year for some people. It's been a hard year for me in terms of saving at times. But yeah, it's so nice seeing it and seeing everything go up. And now those numbers are even bigger, obviously. So it's just kept going up. And the more it goes up, the bigger everything gets. So hopefully more capital gains. Even if next year doesn't have as strong of a year as this year, or last year, 2023, I don't mind. Last year was a bit of an anomaly after a weak year. I mean, you look at positions, everything was up in the 30s. Like I said, I was in the negatives on all my stocks. So at one point, so I didn't just gain 30%, I gained the negative as well. So some positions were close to 40% gains. Looking at dividends as well, something I want to continue tracking. This is something that's going to skyrocket next year because of my growth in my Vanguard position. One of the reasons I also grew my Vanguard position, again, this isn't advice, but there is a thing in Australia with franking credits where if the company pays tax on it, obviously it's to stop double taxation. So my last Vanguard dividend was $238. And since then I've grown the position close to $5,000. So hopefully next month or this month, when I get my next dividend, because they're quarterly, it will even be close to 300. It might even be 280, something like that. I'll be over the moon with that. So, and then you look at that 4 times a year, I'll be well over $1,000, especially as I continue to grow the portfolio, which is good because last year my total dividends was $403, and that included these little positions. Obviously, these little dividends, $17, blah blah blah. And last year my stake dividend total was 160 USD, which is around 234 AUD. So in total, I made around $637 in dividends, which is really good. It's nice having that as a bit of an income. Sometimes when I think about dividends, I think, obviously I reinvest all of it, but I think, oh, that could pay my gym membership for the year, or that can pay for this much fuel, or this much rent, or whatever. So it's just nice getting those extra payments. It's almost like getting a second income. And especially as my stake dividends are a lot more consistent, because obviously I've got more diversified into different positions. but my Vanguard one's every quarter, so it gives me a bit of a balance between getting the monthly dividends and getting the quarterly dividends and everything like that. Because before I was kind of relying on my stake ones, and they're obviously quite small because my US positions don't focus as much on the yields, whereas my Australian positions, the companies pay a much larger dividend because it's not as much growth. But yeah, hopefully, even looking at my Vanguard ones, I mean my VOO ones recently, I got dividends of like $31 and everything USD, which is pretty much like getting closer up to the $50 mark, which is nice to get. But I'll keep tracking these and I'll probably make it a bit neater, like I said last time, and then so everyone can kind of see and I can make it nicer for myself as well. This was just a bit of a wrap up. Again, in total, I was up $34,030 this year, which sounds kind of crazy to say, but when you compare it to other people, it sometimes feels small. So I'm trying to stop comparing it and kind of just put it to myself, because that is a good accomplishment. And my Vanguard position was up nearly 18 grand and my stake position was up over 16. So that's just kind of how it was divided. And then obviously I kept cash and everything like that as well. But just for my stock portfolios that I show on the YouTube, that's how they went. So hopefully 2024 will be good. I'll do another video on my 2024 goals and everything outlook, but that was just a bit of a wrap up. Cheers.